Iowa Live.
From the Carl Chevrolet Studios in West Des Moines, welcome to Iowa Live. I am Lou, and it is time to visit with Taylor Parker, president of Concept by Iowa Hearing. So many different locations of Concept by Iowa Hearing we want to talk about, and talk about some things you can do to really benefit the mental health of a loved one. Great to see you again.
Great to see you. Great to be back.
Now, people want to be seen over at Concept by Iowa Hearing. Boy, do you have a lot of locations.
We do. We've got 14 locations throughout the state of Iowa. Locally here, West Des Moines, Pleasant Hill, Ames, and then we kind of start working our way east from there. But 14 locations, free hearing screening, easy to get into. You got to make that first step though. The hardest part is to make that call. Make that free appointment. We'll take care of the rest, but you got to make that first step and make that call.
Now, in many cases, is it the person who needs the hearing screening done making the call, or is it a loved one?
It's a little bit of both. For men, we're a little stubborn, so we wait a little while. Usually, the wife is more of the driver behind it, and the wife may call, or the husband may call, but typically the spouse is the driver behind it, or in some cases a grandchild. For grandpa, a granddaughter is a big driver for pushing that into being able to communicate, hang out with, and just be a part of their life. So so it just depends, but it's usually it's a female driver behind it.
Okay, now let's talk about something that's very serious. A lot of people are experiencing, in the recent past here, is talk about dementia.
Yeah.
And you said that there are some modifiable risk factors for dementia that could really help.
Yeah, they can. So there are 12 modifiable risk factors that you can actually do that can prevent or delay up to 40% of the cases of dementia. So it's a real thing. It's not something where we're talking just a minor percentage. It's up to 40% of the cases.
And how old do you have to be in order for these to start taking effect?
Great question, Lou. So under the age of 45, the real thing you can do is having proper education. So proper education, being educated, knowledge is power, as they say. So that's under the age of 45, that's the big thing. Between the age of 45 and 65, and this is critical because, I've been on here now a couple years, and we've been talking about hearing loss and how people want to treat it as an older thing, that I'll do it when I get older.
Right.
Well, 45 to 65, in my opinion, is not old because I fit right in that category. So, 45 to 65 is where you can really make the biggest difference. So, treating your hearing loss, brain injury, hypertension, alcohol consumption, and obesity. The number one thing you can do in that category is actually treat your hearing loss. So between the age of 45 and 65, and the number one thing you can do is actually treat your hearing loss is the best modifiable risk or modifiable thing you can do. And then over the age of 65, it's smoking, depression, exercise, social isolation, diabetes, and air pollution. Now, air pollution is not just being in a large city and having air pollution. There was a study done that showed that wood-burning stoves actually have a carcinogen in there that can lead to health issues as well. So it's not just, when we talk about pollution, it's not just outdoor, large cities.
Could be indoor pollution.
Could be indoor pollution as well. So, there's 12 things you can do on there, but the number one thing you can do out of all 12 is actually treat your hearing loss.
Right.
Hearing devices can reduce dementia symptoms up to 75%. So
that's hard to believe.
It is. And, it all goes to brain activity. Our brain has to stay stimulated. And, when we have an untreated hearing loss, our brain has to pull from other resources to compensate for being able to hear. And the two areas that it pulls from is cognitive, which is how we communicate, how we understand, how we process information, and then balance and gait. So those two areas get robbed first with an untreated hearing loss, and cognitive then is the association to dementia that leads to Alzheimer's and those other things.
So that's why some of the first signs of dementia would be failing to remember things or a loss of balance and things like that, because your brain is drawing from those areas in order to try to compensate for what they're missing.
Oh, 100%. And if you go into one of our clinics and just ask to see the MRI, we have an actual MRI. We showed on here before that our brain actually gets modified with an untreated hearing loss. And the issue with that is the day you decide to treat your hearing loss, your brain doesn't revert back to that original form on the MRI. You've now permanently changed the makeup of your brain. So really understanding that, if you came in today and had your hearing checked and, we said, Lou, you have a hearing loss and here's what we would recommend you do. And you say, I need to go home and think about it. Well, when you wake up tomorrow, you're not going to start showing the signs of dementia unless you already had those. It's what happens, you're still going to have your hearing loss, you'll have your hearing loss symptoms. It's just every day that you go without treating your hearing loss, it starts to compound that issue. The issue is when you decide you can't erase those years of that damage that you've already done.
You can't build it back.
You can't build it back. Now, you can, help with cognitive portion. There's things you can do, the modifiable risk factors, there's all these things, but you can't reverse time when it comes to damage to your brain.
So it is very, very important to get your hearing checked. And you mentioned, when we first start talking, free hearing check.
Free hearing screening, 14 locations around the state. You can go to our website, iowahearing.com. You can book everything right on our website if you wanted to book the test, or you can, call the local offices that, phone numbers listed there and make that free hearing screening.
All right, great information as always. So
Thank you.
Again, you
Great to see you.
cannot build back your brain.
You cannot. You don't get a second brain. You have to just take care of the one we have, and the earlier the better. And 45 to 65 is the critical area.
So if you're in that category, pick up the phone or just stop by.
Yes.
Make an appointment to get your hearing checked. Thank you so much. Great information as always.